Live from New York. It's not Saturday night, but it is TECHNOCAT Live here from the biggest show in legal tech, Legalweek 2023, with none other than Kassi Burns, one of my favorite cutting edge, all things meta, Web3, ChatGPT-4.
Data, anything about data.
Yes, my favorite.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. We're in the room together,
right?
And there's like 7,000 of us here at Legalweek. What's your take so far?
You know, Legalweek is always what I call the spring break for e-discovery professionals. But what I do like about it is just seeing people you've known from your career. So I was able to see someone yesterday that I worked with, 10 years ago, and see where she is at in her career. But then also go meet someone down the street who's into Web3, not necessarily legal tech.
Cool, yeah.
So
it feels
a great
like
opportunity.
The show's getting bigger. So when it started, it felt very like e-discovery. Focus.
Right.
And now there's like contract analytic, Web3, like all these people doing cutting edge stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a great place to come and figure out what everyone else is doing and talking about, which is really important for this period in time in our profession.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this period in time. Would you have guessed we would have reached this pop culture tipping point around certainly generative AI this quickly?
No.
I feel like I've got whiplash.
No, and I think for me, the interesting thing, I know we're all about data and text, but it's the image-based AI that really blows my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Because for the longest time, my thought was always, you know what, it can't even get faces right. If it can't get a human face right, I shouldn't be worried.
Well, and even just the time, like I was talking in the last podcast with ILS, they're doing a bunch of web scraping using image recognition for TikTok, right?
Right.
Yes, TikToks are 15 seconds, but some kids are going to have 5 accounts with 10,000 TikToks each. The time, not even just the accurately, the pure amount of hours is crazy.
Yeah.
If you can't use AI somehow.
Right. And, now Midjourney 5 just had a release and it can do hands now with generative
I'm very
AI
excited
art.
Because all of my hands kind of look like this.
Now you'll actually have human looking hands with Midjourney. So
that's pretty cool.
That's kind of, that was a terrifying point for me. They can do hands. Oh, great.
Well, so speaking of terrified, you're on the cutting edge, and that was a terrible segue, but I'm going to get there.
I got it. I'm following you.
Do you think the general fear of the robo-lawyers are coming, I need to run for the hills, is grounded, or do you think it's not quite as scary as people think?
I think it's a fair bit of fear-mongering tied to maybe clickbaity type content.
What, you mean I get more readers if I have a robot lawyer?
Possibly. I think any type of AI, you just have to think of it as a tool. I mean, 100%. If you look at Vermeer painted with, a lot of people think, a camera obscura. It was a tool, but we still think of him as one of the great masters.
Explain what a camera obscura is.
Right. It's kind of like a projector,
but very in the back in the dark ages.
Right. In very, very simple terms. It doesn't make him any less of a master when it comes to his
If I had the camera obscura, it still would look like cat painted.
Oh, absolutely. So to me, it's a tool that maybe will make our lives easier, because there are a lot of things that we do that I think takes up a lot of time. We're all working longer hours. We all work really long hours. And I think that there's a lot of minutia, just cleaning up data sources, cleaning up, database management. I feel like those are the ways that AI can really be helpful, so we can focus more on the content that AI is never going to be very good at, which is kind of new ideas, connecting dots that aren't obvious.
I look at the AI as it can connect the data dots, then I can make the interpretation and I can make the substantive decision. Because if you wanted to know what Kat did today, it'd be like 5 TikToks, a LinkedIn, a podcast. I answer the phone, and then I'm like, oh, I should get out of bed, right?
Right.
So it does connect the dots, but it's not going to do the thinking part. You still need that organic computer.
Right. So if you think of the news that came out a few weeks ago about Sydney, the ChatGPT getting its own person, probably information about the script of her was in the training set, and it was just feeding back what it was giving, what you were giving it. So at the end of the day, it's working off of your inputs and its data set, and we want to create an emotional element behind the machine. And so a lot of it is our own psychological need to do that.
Oh, yeah. It's like we're anthropomorphizing it.
Right.
So no, my dog does not have human feelings, nor does ChatGPT, but maybe I pretend they do.
You know, it's interesting you bring up your dog because I attended a university in New Zealand about 20 years ago, and I took a course, AI is represented in sci-fi movies. So this is 20 years ago. And one of the articles we had to read for the course talked about the more we use technology, the more we anthropomorphize our pets, and the more we rely on our pets as humans. So it's an interesting dynamic.
That's kind of crazy. So what are you most excited about to attend or to do for the rest of the week? Because yes, we had the big party, everyone was together last night, but the show really only kicked off 2 hours ago.
Right.
We have, I don't know, 72 hours of sprinting through learning. What's on your radar is cool.
Right. Well, you know, I always love going to see Rose Jones, the partner I work with. She's going to be on a session about collaboration tools. So always happy to see her on the stage, sharing her knowledge with the world. And I think also just meeting people that I've not met in person that I've met on LinkedIn. You know, I think that's a great opportunity for Legalweek. So how about you? What are you?
I'm excited to make it through 30 podcasts, 2 panels, and 72 hours of Legalweek.
Yes.
Maybe, possibly with my voice, possibly not.
I was going to ask, are you drinking tea with honey in it to kind of
I'm drinking Diet Coke, and I'm staying out till 2 a.m. at Faces and Names. So I'm doing exactly what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
You know, taking care. My body is a temple.
Exactly. The only way to do it at Legalweek is you have to go to Faces and Names.
I think I would shock myself if I didn't go, and then I would get sick. So you never know.
Right.
So because you're so cutting edge, you really are one of the people that I look to when it comes to metaverse, Web3, ChatGPT, generative AI, all of that sort of stuff. What advice do you have for someone tuning in? We're not to the mic drop moment yet. It's different. On how to approach it. Like, you know, trust, but verify, a little caution to read about it. Like, what would your guidance be?
I think always be curious. Curiosity didn't kill the cat.
I'm still here.
Absolutely. I think be curious. Drive that middle road. Don't feed into the hype. Don't feed into the negativity either. There are good things about blockchain. There are bad things about blockchain. And I think it's really read widely, read deeply, read with discernment. That's something I learned from a journalist at an ACAN conference I was at a couple of weeks ago. You know, it can be overwhelming because there's so much information out there and it's not always easily digestible. There's a lot of jargon that I think is some level of gatekeeping or tribalism, you know, cultish-like behavior. But I think powering through that, reading what you can, and thinking about, to me, the legal implication of things, even if you don't think it's going to happen, let's say metaverse, there are still legal implications of things in that there may be contracts out there where you're giving your rights away to be represented in a virtual space or your company's property. So I think just because you're not interested in it doesn't mean other people aren't, and therefore it doesn't mean it won't have some sort of impact in the legal profession.
Well, and I think that's a very good corollary for ChatGPT.
Absolutely.
You can say, hey, I'm not going to use it, but if my grandma and my nephew are using ChatGPT, your clients are using ChatGPT somehow. So you're at least going to need to be able to give them legal guidance on those issues and kind of, you know, whether it's excitement or cautionary tales, you still need to know about it.
Right. And I think that's the important thing. We have to stay focused on what's emerging out there because it will always have some sort of legal impact. It'll have an impact in e-discovery and how we collect data, how we analyze it.
I can't wait for the first metaverse or ChatGPT-based discovery.
You know, and that's what my friend Jerry and I talk about. I know you're going to be talking to him later, but just the issues around authentication of data is going to be much different in the legal world because things we've taken for granted for so long, we may not be able to take for granted.
I mean, video, easily you can deep fake that now. Images you can deep fake, and obviously written content. I don't even know who owns it, how they made it, or what the seed set was.
Right. And then if you think about other technologies like blockchain, if there's a private or a hybrid blockchain, how do you know it's really immutable, how do you know it's really trustless? You know, so how do you know it's free
or even
from
decentralized in any way? Like, how do you know it's not like secretly a bank ledger that they're just lying about?
Right. Or I read a book that it's really just nothing, the cryptocurrency scam where it was completely, a woman sold all of this Bitcoin via an MLM model and there was actually no blockchain.
You know what? We might want to take a lesson from her. At least she's innovating and using emerging tech.
I mean, you know.
I mean, maybe not all the lessons. Like, don't scam anyone that was not TECHNOCAT approved.
Do not commit fraud, folks.
Well, these always go super fast. I feel like I blinked and it's over. We are at the 1 yard line, and it's time for the mic drop moment. What is the one thing you want someone tuning in for the first time, meeting Kassi for the first time, to know? What's the one takeaway that you want them to, if they forget everything else, which they shouldn't, what do you want them to know?
Always follow the tech. New tech too, not just tech you know. Get out of your comfort zone and learn the new things that are out there, because it's going to change with or without you.
Awesome. Well, follow Kassi. She has a great social media presence. You've got a podcast you're doing with Jerry called
All Your Data.
All Your Data. Our Belong to Me, which is
Our Belong to
inspired,
Us.
which is inspired by All Our Base, Our Belong to Us, which was a
Right.
very terrible video game that was poorly translated, I think, from either Russian or Japanese.
Japanese, yep.
So follow her. She's one of my favorite go-tos for
thank
like
you.
all things emerging tech. And you know what? Live from New York, this has been TECHNOCAT Live. I'm here with Kassi, and our mic is dropped.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.